Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to our next Ascendance of a Bookworm Season 2 discussion video. Today we're here to talk all about Episode 2, but before we get into that, I do want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter. At KJ Creed, at Ian Hesse1, at Bubblubber, at Matt87Eagle, at Blue Rose Enigma, at Anzoff97, at AnimeFan3535, at Osiris99, and at Wizardo320. Thank you all so much for sharing last week's video over on Twitter, you guys, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Bookworm video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Alright, so when it comes to this week's second episode of Season 2, or what did they say? It was like episode 16 overall, or something like that? I don't know. Regardless, it's the second episode of the second season, and there are two characters that I really want to talk about this week. One, of course, is Fran, who is the character who seemingly got the most development, but the character that I want to start with is Benno, because of course I do. Benno is my boy, you guys know that. And Benno, my god, the ladies go crazy for a sharp-dressed man. And so does this guy, because my god, Benno was looking fire. Benno's on fire in this episode, and he truly is on fire this episode. Because, not only does he clean up particularly good, but the way his mannerisms change around the high priest, head priest, whatever, around Ferdinand, the way he switches up his mannerisms, the way he switches up his word usage, you can tell he's very much trying his best to give give them a good impression of not only himself and his company, but also mine as well. He's sticking his neck out for her while still trying to help her out as much as he can, and to keep the high priest or head priest or whatever Ferdinand's title is off his back. And I do want to point out that the verbal toss-up between Ferdinand and Benno is particularly awesome, but what I really want to talk about is the fact that Benno as a character has grown so much and has grown to care so much about mine specifically that I think it's genuinely made him grow as a character. When we first met Benno, he was, he's a typical merchant. He's trying to get the gold, trying his best to kind of swindle his fellow merchants out of money if he can do so. He was a bit of a cocky character, but he still had a goodness in him. And we've come to know a hell of a lot about Benno over time, and it's only helped paint him in a much brighter light. And by the time he meets mine, it's genuinely really sweet. And his interactions with her as sort of a father away from father, if Gunther's not around, Benno's the closest thing to a dad for mine. And that's really evident here. The way he sticks up for her without going overboard is really quality. If Gunther's the overly emotional, but also I'll knock you out if you say a bad thing about my kid type of dad, Benno's the dad where it's my kid is awesome, and if you don't see that, that's too bad for you. And that's the difference between the two dads, quote unquote. Also Mark as well. Mark is also a surrogate dad character, I guess. But yeah, mine loves her three dads. But yeah, Benno's verbal spar with Ferdinand in particular is really rad as well. I loved the little chibi art that they use for it. It's super cute. Anytime they bust out the chibi art for mine, it's always really fun, especially seeing the other characters be chibified. It's really sweet. And again, his sparring match with Ferdinand I thought was great. They do that thing that I hate, where it's they try to insinuate romantic interests for mine, and listen, I know I said previously, it's I kind of ship less than mine now, but the more I think about it, the more it's no, it's still weird. I just, stop it. Stop doing that. It's weird. It's never gonna not be weird. And I know people are no, but what about, I get it. People saying but historically, children in the past were more mature and blah, blah, blah. I get it, but I don't want insinuations that Benno and mine are a thing when they're so clearly a father-daughter combo. You know what I mean? Like, don't make it weird. And Mark rightfully points out, like, no, it's not that she's our goddess of water in a romantic sense. She's helping us in the sense that she's somebody who not only does the company rely on, but we've come to rely on as well. She's just somebody who we care a great deal about. It's not a romantic love, it's a platonic thing. And that's the way that I view that relationship. I grossed out when Ferdinand brought that up, and I'm like, why do you gotta do that? Because other than that, the whole scene is great. Like, the back and forth between Benno and Ferdinand, like, being very delicate with their word choice, and Benno even remarking later on in the episode that he's a lot sharper than he seems, and especially for somebody his age, which apparently Ferdinand's like 20-something, like early 20s. I'm older than Ferdinand. Strange. That's not the vibe that I got, but still, the fact that he was able to put Benno on his toes at a couple points during the conversation is interesting, although I think everybody can agree Benno totally destroyed Ferdinand in terms of a verbal spar. It was good stuff, though. It was good stuff. And what I loved that really came out of that is the growth for Fran. Fran, of the three retainers, was the one that I could kind of tell was going to be the one who turns good the fastest. Just the vibe that he was giving off kind of hinted that even at the very beginning where he said, like, oh man, like, I wish I could be with Ferdinand, and Ferdinand, like, trusted me with this, but I don't know why, and blah, 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 like, I wish I'd be hanging out with him. Though even when he was doing that whole spiel, I could kind of tell that he did, like, to some degree, he wanted to serve mine as her retainer, as that's, you know, what he's dedicated his life to. Whether or not it was Ferdinand or mine doesn't really matter at the end of the day. He certainly has a preference, but he all men must serve, to quote Game of Thrones. But he understands that he must serve, so he is doing his best. And I kind of figured that by the very nature of his position, he would eventually be the first one to kind of start to grow closer to mine. I was surprised that it happened as quickly as it did, but that does give me hope that we can stop this annoying shit where, like, the characters are, like, pestering mine and, like, being annoying to mine. I'm hoping, like, each character gets an episode where they get better and turn good, because, y'all, listen, like, okay, I come from the Thumper rule of thumb, where if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. But I really like Ascendance of a Bookworm, so I have a lot of nice things to say, which also means that I will not hesitate to say the things that I don't like. And one of the things that I don't like right now is Gil and Delia, but I'm pretty much fully expecting that to change eventually. I have a feeling like they're going to make these characters, like, kind of like, I don't know, because we've had characters who have, like, changed over time, but there was something likable about them from the start, typically. With Delia and Gil, I just actively don't like these two characters. Like, they're just there to be annoying. And again, that's their purpose, and they're succeeding. But it's still, like, it's to a point where I'm like, even if they change, will I be like, yeah, I love these characters? Or will I just be like, oh, cool, like, they had, like, a good progression, neat. But at the end of the day, I'm like, every time I see Gil, I'm like, I wish you were Lutz. And every time I see Delia, I'm like, I wish you were Turi. Like, I want to be hanging out with the characters who we've grown from season 1. But, to get back to Fran, of the retainers, I do think Fran is the one that I can see me actually getting close to. Like of these characters, Fran's the one that I can actually, like, already tell that I like Fran, and I want to follow Fran's story as well. Like, I want to see what's going on with him and his thoughts. Especially when Benno points out, like, you're aware that you're gonna make her pass out. Like, you walk so fast, you're not even paying attention to your own master walking behind you, trying her best to keep up and running out of breath. Like, you're not aware that you're doing this. And, like, I thought the same thing where I'm like, why is this man walking so fast? How arrogant, how foolish. And then he turns around and is shocked to see that. And I'm like, oh, like Fran's biggest thing is that it's a misunderstanding. And a very easy to fall into misunderstanding as well. The way he's done things is just how he's always done things. So he's walking at a pace that he's always walked. He doesn't really think about the fact that mine is sickly and frail. And even when that comes up, that mine is sickly and frail during the verbal bout between Benno and Ferdinand, Fran is shocked by this because he's like, oh shit, I never really thought about it. And you see him kind of smile a handful of times, and you see him like look at mine with a level of respect a few times as well. And you start to slowly see the gears turning where Fran's like, oh, I get it now. Like, yes, Ferdinand sent me to keep an eye on you, but it wasn't just to keep an eye on you. It was also to help you get accustomed to the church and get accustomed to how we do things around here. And it's not that he abandoned me, it's that he trusts me so much that he sent me to you. And you can see that sort of weight lift off his shoulders in the last scene of the episode where Benno hands mine to Fran and says, like, don't you dare drop her. And it was just a really charming moment where I was like, okay, Fran is a good man. And I can see him growing into a character that I would want to continue to follow. Gil and Delia could very well do the same. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying, like, I'm curious if I'll like them as much as Fran, if I'll like them as much as Lutz or Turi. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Gil and Delia. Never rule anything out. Like, I'm never going to say, like, I will never like these characters. I never. You never say never. So Gil and Delia could grow into characters that I like, but of the three, Fran is gonna be the one that I like the most. Like, I could just tell that Fran's gonna be the one that I like the most. And I want to continue to see where his new dynamic with mine grows in the coming episodes. On that note, everybody, I'm going to wrap up my thoughts here. This was another good episode. I think Season 2 is off to an honestly, like, pretty good start. I hope we learn more about the lore and the church in either the next episode or the episode following, because, again, like, that's what I want to sink my teeth into this season. I want to know more about the lore and stuff like that and how it connects to the overall world and yada yada. But yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying Season 2 so far. It's off to a good start. And that's gonna do it for today's video, everybody. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then by all means, hitting that like button and leaving a comment down below is a great way to help out this channel as it pleases the almighty YouTube algorithm. So if you choose to do so, kudos to you. And if you're feeling extra supportive today, you can go ahead and check out all the links in the description. One goes to my Twitter, another one is to our Discord server, another one to our merch store if you feel like grabbing yourself a mug, and of course, our Patreon page. And speaking of the Patreon page, I do want to give a big thank you to those of you in the T Squadron who support this channel month to month. Let's go ahead and do the Earl Grey shoutouts. Zevi, Andrew W, Branson C, Bria Rose, Calvin A, Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G, Digger the Fox, Dominic G, Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria T, Marshall B, Mater, Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Stephen G, Sakochi, The Suavest Orange, Tristan G, and Veridon. Thanks so much for your continued support over on Patreon, everybody, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page. That is a huge way to support the channel. And again, be sure to check out the other stuff in the Discord as well. Go join our Discord. It is now public. You can all join. Everybody can hop in the Discord. Follow me on Twitter if you want me to ramble at you even more. And until next time, you stay classy, AnyTube, and wash your dang hands.